Hello and welcome to freephotoshop.com and the third and final part of our video tutorial on adjustment layers and masking. In the previous two videos we've used the hue saturation adjustment layer to turn the banner, the jelly and the raspberries blue. Then we used the mask attached to the adjustment layer itself to hide the blue effect on the table. Unfortunately that also removed the blue from the banner, and in this video I'm going to show you how to get that back with adjustment layers and masks. So the first thing I want you to do is to move the banner layer on top of the stack, just like so. You can just go ahead and drag that up, and we'll go ahead and double click on the name of that layer and just go ahead and rename it banner. We might as well get into some good practices whilst we're at it. The next thing I'm going to do is drag the adjustment layer. So just go ahead and click and drag it. I'm going to drag that down onto the new layer icon at the bottom of the layers panel, and it should be this first little page icon that you find. Then I'll rename it, and I'm going to rename this one, the copied one, banner mask. So it's just the same as duplicating a layer. We've now got two identical adjustment layers with the exact same adjustments entered into it and the exact same masks attached to it as well. Now I'll drag the banner mask adjustment layer above the actual banner layer in the stack. Just make sure that's on top if it isn't already. Now the difference here is that I want the adjustment layer to affect the banner and nothing else in the image. So I'll show you two ways of working. The first one of which is to use another mask to only reveal the banner. So let's go ahead and give that a try. I'm going to click on the adjustment layer to activate it, and then I'll come up here to the edit menu and select the fill layer command like so. Now I'll make sure we have the content set to black and that blending is set to normal and opacity is at 100%, and then I'll click OK. Now you'll notice in the mask thumbnail associated with the active layer that the whole mask is black, meaning that the adjustment layer is in effect hidden from view, and that we can see the selected color modifications of the adjustment layers and the mask below. Now we want to paint the banner white, so the only change the mask and adjustment layer is making is the color inflicted onto the banner courtesy of our mask. Now wouldn't it be great if there were a way to quickly select the visible pixels in the banner layer and ignore the transparency so we could just copy it into the mask? Well, as it turns out, there is a way. Hold down the Control key here on the PC or the Command key on the Mac and click the banner layer, and you'll see that we've selected all the opaque pixels in that layer. Now activate the adjustment layer and hit the letter D to set white as our foreground color. Now we'll fill in the selected area with white by coming back up to the edit menu and this time clicking on fill selection, and this time selecting foreground color from the drop down box just to make a change, making sure blending is set to normal and opacity is set to 100%. Now click OK, and that should fill the mask with white in the selected area of the image only, meaning that we get our blue banner back. I'll hit Control or Command D to deselect that area of the image, and then I'll Alt or Option click on the mask or the thumbnail of the mask to actually show you what a perfect job that has done. I mean, we've selected the exact area required. Such a good technique, that one right there. Alright, I'll Alt or Option click once more on the mask thumbnail to return to the full color image, and there we have it. Alright, now for the second approach. And as I said earlier, these two techniques are just two different ways of working, so there's nothing wrong with either of them. You can choose which one works best for you or which one works best for your project. So we'll start by making this mask associated with the top adjustment layer reveal the adjustments in full, and we'll do that by once again making sure the adjustment layer is active in the layers panel by clicking on it, and then by coming up to the edit menu once again and then selecting fill layer, and this time choosing the white contents option as well as the normal blending mode and 100% opacity, and then we'll go ahead and hit OK. Now we need a way to confine the adjustment layer to the visible regions of the layer below, and thankfully there is a really simple solution to get the job done. I'll come over here to the layers panel once again, and this time I'll double click on the banner mask adjustment layer to open up the dialog box in the adjustments panel. And you may be a little concerned to see that all of our settings have been wiped out. So the hue slider is set back to its default of 0. Well, that's just a little bit deceiving because the settings are still in there. The only thing is the color option drop down menu that reads master has been reset. And you'll remember we changed it to reds so we could accurately target the reds inside the image. Well, to get the settings we've applied back, all you need to do is click the drop down menu and once again select reds, and that will restore our reds value. What happened there was when we duplicated the adjustment layer, it flipped back to master for some reason, but it's good to know that none of the information from the adjustment layer has been lost. So we've now restored all the controls as they were previously. Now if we investigate some of these options down here at the bottom of the panel, we run into this first one, which reads, if I hover the cursor above it, this adjustment affects all layers below, and then in brackets click to clip to the layer. So go ahead and give it a click, and notice we now have the adjustment visible in the banner and not the table or anywhere that the other adjustment layer further on down the stack doesn't reveal it. Now if we click back into the layers panel, we'll see something strange has happened. Instead of a standard layer, we've got this little arrow pointing down to the layer below, and it's repositioned to the right. Well, what we've done, folks, is transformed this adjustment layer into a clipping mask. So we've made it reflect its adjustments in the visible region of the layer below. Now we already have a tutorial here at freephotoshop.com looking specifically at clipping masks, and although it was recorded in the full version of Photoshop, it's still going to prove very helpful and applicable to users of Photoshop Elements. Now the great advantage of working this way is that if we want to move the banner at any stage, we can still do so and not lose the effect. In fact, no matter where we move the banner layer to, the clipping mask is always going to be clipping that effect inside the banner. If you wanted to go back to a normal layer, so unclipping the layer from the one below, you could either double click the adjustment layer icon again and click that same button at the bottom left of the dialog box, or you could Alt or Option click between the clipped layer and the one it's clipped to, just like so, and there we go, we've unclipped that layer from the one below. To clip it again, we can either go back to that button in the adjustments panel, or we can Alt or Option click between these layers once again to clip the higher one to the lower. And there we have it. By hook or by crook, we have our final image and our final effect, thanks to adjustment layers and masks right here inside Photoshop Elements 8. Well, thanks as always for joining me here at freephotoshop.com. See you back at the site.